Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Side Squeeze. I'm Kit Campbell, your host. Today we're talking about Disclosure, Caracal, their new album. Disclosure came out with a pretty badass debut album called Settle, and they, I believe, they were the first ones to have Sam Smith feature. Well, they probably weren't the first ones to have Sam Smith feature, but they certainly made Sam Smith pretty darn huge.
Propelled him to stardom.
They did. They propelled him on a badass song that is still good now. He's returned for their second album to do another song, Omen, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But first of all, Nocturnal, the first track on the album. James, Nocturnal.
For this entire album,
Oh, Jesus Christ.
it was pop house, and I'm willing to... Is it not? I would
Not really.
describe it... I would describe a lot of these
Quite poppy.
songs as house music,
Yep.
but I would say that they are appealing less to people that are like hardcore house fans and more to kind of the average listener.
Disclosure have always occupied like a sort of strange space because they were the ones who really propelled Deep House to become the popular Deep House style that it is now. They were the ones who
They made the blueprint.
made that popular. But it's like a sort of Skrillex thing where the style that they did on their first album is not the style of pop house that became super popular. It took elements from that, but it's sort of not the same. And they've always held this weird space sort of between pop deep house and more old school deep house and the sort of modern garage style that was coming up for like Devolution at the same time.
I'm going to talk about Devolution as well.
Yeah, well they're similar.
When it started going all garagey,
They have a
garage-like.
very Devolution track near the end of this.
Oh, I think they have a couple.
I haven't listened to them, so I will not be referencing such a band or act or musical artist
But
or
Nocturnal.
group or Nocturnal the song.
Or Dance Craze.
I thought that it started really well. I thought that as an introduction to a house album,
Yeah.
sounded pretty good.
I think it was pretty simple.
This featured The Weeknd, or Weekend.
The
Weeknd?
Weeknd.
Well, no, it's actually spelt Weekend.
But
And
he has
The
said
Weeknd.
that you pronounce it the Weeknd.
Yeah, but then he should have fucking spelled it that way, shouldn't he? Fucking idiot.
This is something I want to
Sorry.
say about The Weeknd.
That's
Because I like his vocal
I know.
performance in this. And I think on not only, I can't remember what it's called, but one of his two big hits, Not the Hills, the other one, and on this as well, I can get a sort of Michael Jackson vibe from him. I hear a bit of Michael Jackson in bits of space, especially when he's singing the chorus on this. It sort of sounds a bit like Michael Jackson. There's a tint of him in there, and I really liked it. I think the vocal performance was great. The song itself, a bit simple.
I don't know. I
but
thought
nice.
for me, this track wasn't really doing anything for me as an opener. It didn't make me excited about anything. What I wanted to say to him was that the more you say Nocturnal, doesn't make it mean anything more.
There was pretty
fair
much
point.
no place for that word in the song, really.
No.
It was kind of strange. But I felt as though once the vocals were introduced, the house kind of building and taking away elements kind of stopped. They were just like, yeah, we've introduced everything that we wanted in the first minute, and now we're just going to kind of like do a chorus and then just go back to that. And then it's like exactly the same throughout the whole thing. So the vocals are the only thing that's like really out there. But I didn't think they were amazing. I thought they were good, but they weren't amazing.
The instrumentation on a lot of this album is pretty simple, and some of it has more variation than this song. This song was very simple. But also, I wanted to mention something that I realised, because I thought about it through the whole song. Through all the songs, they have this sort of Paddy keys synth that they use a lot. They have the sort of a bass synth which changes a lot, but they will normally have sort of one main bass and then a drum thing. And I thought about it, I was like, some of these songs could do with a bit more, like a few other things added, some strings, and it was saying...
That's why I put exactly that. I think that
But
this track has a potential to have a lot more
the
going
reason
on.
they don't do that is because of the way they play live. They have each of them set up on a set. One plays drums and one plays synths. So they want to be able to have everything playable live, so that they can play it live exactly how it sounds on a record.
Well, I understand that. At
And
the
I think
same time, Daft Punk, when they do a live performance of a song,
But they DJ.
yeah,
They
I
don't want
understand
to
that.
DJ.
I understand that. But when they do a live performance of their song, it can be completely different and just incorporate those elements. And again, because they're DJing, that's how it works. You're going to get a bit of one, a bit of another, kind of mix them together. You don't need to sacrifice how it sounds on the album to do something good live.
But I think that's the thing. I'm not saying it's a good thing that they're doing it. I would have liked on some of these songs. I think they need some more stuff in them. But it's sort of the reason. I feel like they on purpose said, like, we're going to limit ourselves to stuff we can do live for making the album. And I don't know if necessarily it's a bad thing, but I think it's an interesting choice. And I think on a lot of the songs in here it works, and on some it doesn't work as much.
Okay, track 2.
Omen, the Sam Smith track, as I like to call it.
I think it's great.
You know what? Sam Smith provided that hook that they needed. And it sounds good. I love that garagey style kind of synth they got with that slow attack.
Yep.
It's pretty sweet.
I also liked the bass synth on this. It wasn't the typical deep house sort of bass, or even the typical sort of Disclosure-y deep house bass. It sounded to me, it had sort of a bit more movement in it, had a bit of a wub. It sounded like a Jaws synth.
I mentioned Jaws at some point.
But without less, but you know, to fit in a deep house song with less of the aggressiveness and less of the distortion, but it had the sort of sound of a Jaws song, and I thought it was quite.
I like the way we're getting exactly the same flavours off this album.
Yeah. I wasn't a massive fan of it.
I thought this was really good.
You know what? I think I really clicked with this song on the album very quickly. I think because I've heard it's had quite a lot of heavy radio play, and I've kind of soaked it in. It's kind of been shoved down my throat a little bit by the media.
I just thought that it was quite conventional. I don't think it tried anything new, but the stuff that it did do, it was doing it. It was doing it well throughout the entire album. Everything they're doing it well. But I don't feel as though they really pushed what they could have done.
This was definitely the single. Even if you didn't hear, I didn't hear any singles or anything before this came out. I listened to this and I'm like, this is the single.
The next song is their lead single. Moving on to their next song.
As well. This and Holding On, to me, I feel like singles. There's nothing too out of the ordinary, nothing too interesting they're doing on them, but they're both really nice, great vocal
I liked Holding On a lot more than I liked Omen. I thought that Holding On was a decent house track, and it once it introduced
deep garage, I think you'll find.
Oh, you're going to be very
okay, whatever,
specific
you know. But I felt that in the first song, where once they introduced the vocals, that's kind of they stopped developing. I felt that in Holding On, once they introduced the vocals, they kept developing behind it, and I liked that. It was really good.
This song is a lot more progressive.
But the second half, I felt as though it stopped. I felt as though they kept going, and then they took everything that they'd added out, and then they just put it all back in, and it just kind of sounded exactly the same.
To me, I love this style, this kind of garagey style, and the vocalist, Gregory Porter, was providing that big kind of 90s R&B style that you want on a garage track.
On that track.
And it just, I could listen to that all day, to be honest, and I really loved it.
The intro was cool as well. So
the intro, neither here nor there, but no, I'm trying to annoy you. It was great.
Yeah. Hourglass, track 4.
It was dull.
It was dull, yeah.
Until it hits 2 minute mark.
Until it hits 2 minutes mark.
What was that?
I thought the same about Hourglass as I thought about Omen. But it was more LFO heavy.
No, when
that's what I felt.
It was boring, and then the bass comes in and it's interesting and it's cool, and I was like, oh, this is pretty good. And then it goes away again, and I was like,
wait, is that what I meant? Is that what by LFO heavy? Does that mean the bit where at 2 minutes that you're talking about?
Maybe.
Yeah. If so, probably.
I didn't write down the time for that. Sorry, guys.
Before you had 3 minutes and 5 seconds on when some stuff comes in. But I loved that kind of sick bass with that kind of mid
really
bass.
Cool sounding.
And it's got a really nice reverb on the higher frequencies on that bass, and it was one of those big sonically powerful sounds that makes it sounds like a producer showing off, which is great because that's what you want to hear.
Yeah.
It reminded me a lot of when I listen to a Jaws song. And I hear those kind of the things that really impress me all the time.
And you're just like, that sound is cool. You can forget about the song for a second to just go, that sound is awesome.
Enough.
Hourglass. Oh, Willing and Able is the next one, isn't it? Oh.
Willing and Able.
Willing and Able really interested me.
Willing and Able.
Really down tempo. So this thing goes down to 200 BPM.
On your table. Carry on.
Didn't like it.
it goes down to like 100 BPM, and I was like,
It was
really
chilled
interesting.
out, which was interesting, but I didn't like it. I felt as though everything that they wanted to show off, they showed off in the first 90 seconds, and then that was it.
Yeah, I didn't
It
like
was
some
it
of
was really interesting that it went down to 100 BPM, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. It's nice that they're taking a different trend. They're not doing too much house, because that's the worry I had when I was listening to it first. You get Nocturnal, Omen, Holding On, Hourglass, a lot of sort of quite typical housey stuff, and then I was like, is it all going to be that? And I was happy that they changed it. But this one in particular, yeah, I didn't think it was that good. It was not interesting.
I didn't think
I would describe the bass melody in this song as wet, kind of squelchy. Reminds me of
Yeah.
some early dubstep stuff we used to listen to.
Wes and
But then it
Squelchy.
moves
Yeah.
to Magnets, which goes even slower. This thing goes down to like 90 BPM.
This is on with Lorde, or Lorde, how do you pronounce the name?
I don't know if it's on with her, but if it is, you pronounce it Lorde.
Not Lorde. Was Lorde that dodgy Scandinavian metal act?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what that is.
I got
the
so-
Eurovision winners.
I got so confused when she started charting. Because her name's spelled Lorde, and so I was like, what, that weird Eurovision metal band is charting? What the hell is happening to the world? And then I listened to it, I was like, oh no, this is quite cool. What the hell is this?
I like the percussion in it.
What was the name of this? Hard Rock Hallelujah.
Yeah. Rock.
Hallelujah. With the screaming. Hallelujah.
Oh god, let's stop talking about Lorde.
Anyway, so I like the percussion in
Magnets,
Magnets,
yeah.
but and it was a decent.
It was
I'm
good.
gonna say again, pop house. I'm gonna keep using that term because I feel as though that's what it is. But nothing really grabbed my attention.
it's fair.
in it.
Can I do one of those things where I read out exactly what I wrote about it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Magnets was the one with Lorde. It was alright, a bit dull, kind of sexy, I guess. That is all.
Yeah, I thought it was right. I really liked. There was one thing. I really liked the way the kick and the bass worked together with this, where it had
In
kick
time.
hits, the kick hits, and then there was no bass on it, and then there's sort of a triplet 2-3-4 bass before the third kick hits,
Okay.
and then a triplet 3-4.
But when does the Kit Kat?
And I
I'll have to
thought it
re-listen
was
to that to
interesting.
go and
It was
appreciate
quite funky.
that.
It was quite
Not that,
nice.
I'm never going to appreciate that. But,
I listened to it. It was good. I was like, yeah, I like this. But I agree with you. It was an incredible track. It was decent.
did you have
Jaded.
Wait,
Oh, sorry.
It's gonna make a
I'm sorry.
bad pun.
Make a
sorry.
bad pun.
I'm
Make a
sorry.
bad pun.
Go.
Make a
no,
bad pun,
it's
mate.
not going to be funny anymore.
All right,
I mean, it wasn't going to be funny
Jaded.
to begin with, but
Jaded goes back to very typical Disclosure style deep house.
I quite liked it.
Really liked it.
this
I think
song,
this is another one of
I
the top
said,
songs in the album.
this was the first song I heard on the album where I thought, this is kind of what I expected from the follow-up of the debut album. It sounds just like what it should be.
And this one, the thing I like about this song is the lads from Disclosure singing.
Really?
And the main guy who sings it, I think there's two brothers, Howard and Guy, I think their names are.
Yeah,
And
Howard and
who's
Guy
the main
Lawrence.
guy who sings, has really grown into a confident singer. On the
Oh,
first
okay.
album, he didn't do any like big, great singing performances, but on this, really good. And I believe the higher pitch vocals in the back is his brother Guy doing the backing vocals.
Sweet.
And I really like the sort of dichotomy of both of them together doing the sort of low and the high stuff. And
I think
it
the way
works
that
really
they
well.
shifted dynamics in that song was really good. Like when they were doing the quieter bits, it was good, and then it managed to shift up to these so much louder and more in your face bits in a really interesting way, and I liked it a lot. And it gave it something which kind of kept my attention.
I
throughout the
mean,
whole
like
song.
up, down, flying around, looping the loop and defying the ground.
Fact.
Fact. Because magnificent men and their flying machines.
Anything else to say about Jaded?
No.
Kit?
Good Intentions
Was one of my favourites on the album.
was my least favourite on the album.
Get a fucking job, you hippie bum.
I thought there was nothing special.
It was nothing special, and the bass line on this was so boring.
There was
No.
quantizing on the drums, which was kind of interesting, but I don't know whether it worked.
So boring.
I don't
It
know
was
whether
one
it
of my favourites. I
So-
really loved the cadence on the vocal
Decent
with the
performance.
down, and the beat feels slowed down, and there are these beautiful arpeggiated synths like going on in the background.
This song,
You'll have to listen to it for yourselves, ladies and gentlemen. Don't take my bad.
this song
thoughts.
for me didn't have too much going for it, and it didn't have what a lot of the other songs that didn't have much going for it had, which was at least the sort of funky, deep house style drums and bass going together, making you be able to vibe to it.
Or deep garage.
The bass was literally like on the beat, like one, boom, 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 and it just,
Oh, we're
there
gonna,
was nothing
we're
interesting.
gonna riff.
But then this album suddenly, for me, became surprisingly interesting.
Really? Okay.
Because Superego
was terrible.
is a fucking drum step song. Things like 165 BPM
Yeah.
two-step. I did not expect it. I thought I really liked the driving bass. I can tell you hate it because I thought it had a kind of Nero-y vibe. It's kind of like the My Eyes sort of bass. I thought it was really interesting. Great vocal performance, I thought. I thought this was a really good song, and surprising, it wasn't the style I was expecting, and I really liked it.
I really jammed to this song. Like, it's one of these songs where it's got the halftime thing going on, but it's so good that you're jamming to it, like, in real time, like full time.
You're jamming to
every
the
beat,
hats.
like
Yeah,
you're really going for it. You're not just going.
Stop.
I
Pretty weird.
Probably does.
I don't like it at all.
I thought it was really good.
I
it was one of the best
thought
songs
there
I've
was
heard.
nothing interesting on it for me that was like, oh yeah, this is awesome. Nothing at all. There was nothing that I can really remember from it.
I liked the
other
bass
than
line. It was very different.
The
from normal
vocals,
stage
like
stuff.
Superego.
Bass.
I thought it was
liked
just
the
filler. I thought it was
drums.
filler.
The drums and the way it was. I thought it was really
Yeah, I love that
interesting.
synth line, slightly kind of almost dissonant.
That was
good.
actually my least favourite song on the
I
album.
liked this song a lot. It was one of my favourites.
Okay.
I got some like Channel Orange flavors off this song.
I can kind of see that.
Yeah,
I really like it.
the vocals was good as well. Like, it
Yeah.
wasn't just that nocturnal shit, like said over and over again. It
They do
actually had
Sexy
some
Broker
stuff.
quite a bit, but
A little bit,
but
the rest of it.
they do that in a lot of
surrounding
these
it.
songs. I can normally look over it because I like the
Yeah.
rest of it.
If it goes too far though, I'll call it out.
Echoes,
Echoes.
Garage, pretty good Garage too. Great vocals. Again, I believe Disclosure singing. Nice bass work, but
But
nothing too incredible over this track. I think.
I was like reading mine as long as you said it, and it was exactly the same.
I didn't like the vocals.
I
thought the
I said
vocals
I
hindered the
thought the
track.
vocals were kind of meh.
Oh right, okay.
I felt as though everything that was interesting in that happened when the vocals weren't there. I felt as though all of the stuff that was like, yeah, that's awesome, that was really cool, I like that. That was literally, the vocalist has just stopped singing, and now they do something cool.
Yeah.
And then when the vocals come back in, they do nothing interesting while it's happening. And I felt as though the vocals really hindered what the track was capable of achieving.
Okay,
So I didn't like it. I mean, I liked it more than Superego, and I liked the intro.
Well, I was going to say, like,
I
I
didn't like-
love that
I didn't like the whole
garagey
thing.
kind of vibe, and every one of those songs where there's like the real garage kind of thing going on, I could just jam to them all day long. And I was wondering how you felt about that particular style.
I liked the style. I thought that what was kind of preventing them from further exploring that style was the vocals.
Yeah, I thought the vocal wasn't quite great on that one.
Masterpiece. Final track.
Anyone going to make a pun?
No, but I was interested in this because it's kind of wonky, slow jam sort of thing. The drums, I think on this, they sound like very much like they were recorded, rather than like he played them, like because they're very like not quite on time. A lot of them.
Yeah, but they're also terrible.
You thought the drums were terrible?
The drums on Masterpiece.
You thought they were terrible?
The ones that go the entire song.
See, I love that.
And
You don't
then,
like that.
and then, for the outro, that is it. That is literally it. They were awful. That alone was just enough to make me think that I can't concentrate on anything
think
else that's happening.
There might not have been enough variation in them, but I think they were good. They were interesting. They were different.
I loved that guitar that was like doubled up
Yeah,
with a synth thing.
that was cool.
It's so
It becomes
nice big
because
sound.
it starts off as kind of wonky slow jam, and I quite liked it. And then it gets kind of epic later on, like without you expecting, it just sort of comes in, and you're like, "Oh, this is pretty big. I like it." I think it was.
It was a slow track as well.
Yes.
And I felt as though the drums, because they were overly simplistic, really pointed out how slow it was, and I disliked it. I also felt as though it would perfectly work, you know, on Twitch, when you're watching a League of Legends game, or a Counter-Strike game, or a Dota game, or whatever you're watching, and they're playing a match, and then the match ends, the commentary goes, they end, and then there's a time period where they have to wait. The music they play on that, masterpiece.
That is a way specific thing to say.
That
It
firstly
is.
is a way specific thing to say. Also, I normally think of that as sort of like generic poppy like festival dance stuff that they normally play on.
But I just felt as though it was like, it suited that style, but I don't like
I didn't think it was great, but I thought it was an interesting thing to put on the end of the closer. I thought it was sort of ending the album with something less typical for them
Yeah.
that worked quite well, but wasn't incredible, but I liked it.
Yeah, I thought the vocals were nice. I thought the synths were nice. And that it had the same arpeggiator in it, the exact same one that happened in Good Intentions, which is no bad thing. I really like that. Oh, actually, when I first heard the song, I thought, "Is this Sam Smith doing a second song?" And I had to read. It wasn't. It was George. And
I've looked at a lot of reviews for this album.
really,
Yeah.
I haven't looked at one.
I looked at a lot of reviews for this album, and they all said pretty much the same thing. And after I listened to it, I was like, I can definitely see this. Disclosure have attempted to make as much money as they can, basically. In the least harsh of ways, they have found a big audience that has, like, they make a very specific type of music, right? But it's something that appeals to a lot of people at festivals, clubs, everywhere. But they don't really put a lot of effort into exploring anything new. They've just perfected the art of making what I am going to say again for the final time, a pop house album.
Well,
in the sense that it is very radio-friendly house music.
Yeah.
It's not doing anything crazy. It's not going to appeal to the die-hard house fans, in my opinion anyway. I don't think it will. But anyone that's like, yeah, I think house is alright, they'll like this album.
I think when you call it pop deep house, it's fine. I think the only reason I object to it is I use it very specifically for that style of deep house, which isn't deep house, but is called deep house. Metal bands and like real like dance music nerds are the worst for subgenres. Whereas this fits, I think, in between those two structures. So I think it's fine to call it either. But I think they very much have their own style.
Yeah,
and
they
you're
do
right
have their own
that
style.
they're very much trying to keep to that style. I think this album did a decent job. Like, I wasn't expecting to like this album too much. I think it did a decent job of doing different things within that style. So it didn't, you're right, it didn't explore anything new or super interesting, but it explored some different interesting ways to do that style. And I liked it more than I thought it did. They had a lot of well done songs in there.
Okay, shall we go for our favourite songs?
Yeah, favourite songs.
Yeah.
Hit me, James.
I like Nocturnal, other than the lyrics. They really, really put me off. But again, in the same way as whatever it was, one of the other ones that we did today, whatever that was, it kind of introduced the album quite well. And I respect a good intro.
Like you were talking about the Rudimental one.
Rudimental, exactly. So that, Holding On, I thought was good.
Yep.
Jaded I liked a lot as well.
Yep.
And yeah, those three really stood out to me.
Hit me with your 3 faves, Gareth.
My free phrase, I'm gonna go one step better than that. Hit with my 4 favourites.
Oh, that's too many.
Omen, Holding On, Jaded,
I hate when you use yay, when you
Yaded.
the Y for the J. Carry on.
and Superego. They are my 4
Okay.
favourites. I think they are the 4 best.
Okay, mine are Good Intentions, Jaded, and Masterpiece. Well, I believe that's all from us here at
No,
the Sonic
it's not.
Squeeze.
We haven't given it a rating out of 10.
Well, I keep thinking of this. What's the thing you do after this? After
Predictions.
the predictions, I keep thinking that we're just doing predictions.
Okay.
I think we should just let Gareth dictate what our marks out of 10
Okay.
are.
You gave it a 6. You gave it an 8. There we go.
I gave it a 6!
I gave it an 8!
I just made up numbers. What you gave it a 6?
Strong 6, man.
Nice.
Strong 6.
What did you give it?
I gave it a 5.
You gave it 5. Okay. I gave it a strong 7.
Nice.
Okay.
Okay, I feel like we were all in the same kind of ballpark here. And on that note, for the second time,
Ballpark.
gonna say goodbye. That's all from me, Kit, Gareth, James, as in me, Kit. Not me, Kit. Me, Kit.
Okay.
Bye.
Predictions. I wrote that you
Yeah.
would give it 7. You would give it a 5.
Yeah. You got
But
it.
I'm going to count it as a win because I said 6 for you. So I'm going to count that as a win.
Okay.
I guess so. I guess we'll give you that one.
Awesome.
And that's another beautiful Sonic Squeeze session dealt with. Dealt with. See you again soon. Bye. Nocturnal, the first track on the album. James. Nocturnal.
For this entire album,
Oh, Jesus Christ.
it was pop house, and I'm willing to. Is it not? I would
Not really.
describe it. I would describe a lot of these
Quite poppy.
songs as house music,
Yep.
but I would say that they are appealing less to people that are like hardcore house fans and more to kind of the average listener.
Disclosure have always occupied like a sort of strange space because they were the ones who really propelled deep house to become the popular deep house style that it is now. They were the ones who
They made the blueprint.
made that popular. But it's like a sort of Skrillex thing where the style that they did on their first album is not.
And then just go back to that, and then it's like exactly the same throughout the whole thing. So the vocals are the only thing that's like really out there, but I didn't think they were amazing. I thought they were good, but they weren't amazing.
The instrumentation on a lot of this album is pretty simple, and some of it has more variation than this song. This song was very simple. But also, I wanted to mention something that I realised, because I thought about it through the whole song. Through all the songs, they have this sort of Paddy keys synth that they use a lot. They have the sort of a bass synth which changes a lot, but they will normally have sort of one main bass and then a drum thing. And I thought about it, I was like, some of these songs could do with a bit more, like a few other things added, some strings, and it was saying.
That's why I put exactly that. I think that this track has a potential to have a lot more
The
going on.
reason they don't do that is because of the way they play live. They have each of them set up on a set. One plays drums and one plays synths. So they want to be able to have everything playable live, so that they can play it live exactly how it sounds on a record.
Well, I understand that. At the same time,
The Weeknd.
That's
Because I like his vocal
I know.
performance in this. And I think on not only, I can't remember what it's called, but one of his two big hits, Not the Hills, the other one, and on this as well, I can get a sort of Michael Jackson vibe from him. I hear a bit of Michael Jackson in bits of shape, especially when he's singing the chorus on this. It sort of sounds a bit like Michael Jackson. There's a tint of him in there, and I really liked it. I think the vocal performance was great. The song itself, a bit simple.
I don't know. I
but
thought
nice.
for me, this track wasn't really doing anything for me as an opener. It didn't make me excited about anything. What I wanted to say to him was that the more you say nocturnal, doesn't make it mean anything more.
There was pretty much
point,
no
yeah.
place for that word in the song. Really.
No.
It was kind of strange. But I felt as though once the vocals were introduced, the house kind of building and taking away elements kind of stopped. They were just like, yeah, we've introduced everything that we wanted in the first minute, and now we're just going to kind of like do a chorus.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Side Squeeze. I'm Caracal, your host. Today we're talking about Disclosure, Caracal, their new album. Disclosure came out with a pretty badass debut album called Settle, and they, I believe they were the first ones to have a Sam Smith feature. Well, they probably weren't the first ones to have Sam Smith feature, but they certainly made Sam Smith pretty darn huge.
Propelled him to stardom.
They did. They propelled him on a badass song that is still good now. He's returned for their second album to do another song, Omen, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But first of all,
the style of pop house that became super popular. It took elements from that, but it's sort of not the same. And they've always held this weird space sort of between pop deep house and more old school deep house, and the sort of modern garage style that was coming up for like Devolution at the same time.
I'm going to talk about Devolution as well.
Yeah, well they're similar.
When it started going all garagey,
They have a
garage-like.
very Devolution track
Yeah.
near the end of this.
Oh, I think they have a couple.
I haven't listened to them, so I will not be referencing such a band or act or musical artist
But
or
Nocturnal.
group or Nocturnal the song.
Or Dance Craze.
I thought that it started really well. I thought that as an introduction to a house album,
Yeah,
sounded pretty good.
I think it was pretty simple.
This featured The Weeknd, or Weekend.
The
Weeknd?
Weeknd.
Well, no, it's actually spelt Weekend.
But
And
he has
The
said
Weeknd.
that you pronounce it The Weeknd.
Yeah, but then he should have fucking spelled it that way, shouldn't he? Fucking idiot.
This is something I want to
Sorry.
say about